Everything in life is figure outable. I've had to learn everything by being resourceful. And because of that and that alone has taken us and our business to the next level.
Welcome to the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. I am your host, Scott Aaron, and each and every week I'm going to come to you with short, simple, and powerful tactics of how you can grow your network marketing business, brand, bank account, and impact on those around you. And just remember, network marketing is not easy, but it can be made easy with simple steps to create the success that you truly deserve. Welcome to episode 84 of the Network Marketing Made Simple podcast. And if you are a new listener, then welcome. And if you are a returning listener, then welcome back. And as always, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, or network marketer and solely growing your business through the means of Facebook and Instagram, and you are not happy with the results that you've been getting recently, and you are not yet using the power of LinkedIn to grow a whole new network, business, brand, and income, then head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the free 15-minute call form so we can talk about you, your struggles, and how we could potentially work together. So as always, I will always come to you guys with amazing guests. And I have a dear friend with me today. And this is someone that I really respect because her story is very powerful, because I always express to people that you can learn a lot from network marketing, whether you have or have not done it, whether you still do it or whether you stopped and did something else, because there are always lessons to be learned in life that you can apply to any entrepreneurial endeavor, whether it's network marketing or starting your own business. So as always, I want that person to tell their story so they can impact and empower you to do more, so you can be more, so you can have more. And with that, Lori Lefcourt, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you, Scott. I'm excited to be on your podcast. You're such a doer, so I'm so stoked to be part of this.
Well, it's always good to have other doers on a doers podcast. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. All right, so let's get right into it. You have a very interesting story and past. So there's always these impactful and empowering moments that kind of shift the course of our life. So just tell a little bit of the audience who doesn't know who you are, what you do, maybe not so much now, but what did you do prior that has really set you on this course of life to really dig into what you're doing now?
Sure. So my name is Lori, and I run a powdered plant-based coffee creamer, very innovative. It has MCT oil and pea protein. It's one of the cleanest on the market, and it's called Unicreamer. And I started it with my sister last March. And since then, we have had a lot of success on e-commerce. We are very big in the Chicago area, and so we're looking to expand. So that is kind of where I'm at right now. But my story, and I love the fact that we started out with the whole doer concept, because at this day and age, when I talk to other entrepreneurs, I really like to dive into the psychology of what takes people from A to Z and the in between and the misconceptions. Because even though I'm a doer and you're a doer, there were periods and points of time where we both weren't, especially me. And I think it's really easy for people to see people succeeding and overly worry about that they're not at that place, when there are huge chunks of time that I was extremely behind or felt behind. So I think that's what I want people to extract from this kind of short story about how I got to where I was. So I started my career on Wall Street. I knew from a very young age that I was really kind of good at manifesting what I wanted. So when I moved to New York, I had no job, but I had a friend that was there. I went there on vacation and never left. My parents were freaking out, and they were like, oh my gosh, my daughter's going to die. And they honestly, if they knew what was going on with me, or the train rides I was having at 3 a.m, they would probably freak out. But anyways, I survived. I ended up being a cocktail waitress by night, pretending to intern on a Wall Street floor by day. So I really wasn't sleeping. But I told my parents I was going to be on Wall Street in 3 months. And they're like, okay. And they thought I was just going to come home. But anyways, I ended up getting a job. I sat in, like I said, my friend let me pretend to intern. She was a trader at a company called BGC. And so they actually weren't hiring, but I got hired on their parent company. So the next 6 years, it was a roller coaster ride of heavy drinking, whining and dining customers, covering London and other countries, and living a really, really unhealthy lifestyle. And I was making so much money, but I was also really, really unhappy. So I think after 3 to 5 years, I was so burned out and I was so lost because at this point, I had lost my friends. I had gained a bunch of weight. I actually deleted every single picture from that year on my Facebook. Um, and I was trying to figure out a way to get back control of my life. And I'm like, why am I not thankful? I'm making like over 250,000 a year at the age of 22, 23. But at the same time, I was like so miserable and I was out of control. And a lot of it had to do with working in an all male environment when I was so young. And this was very old school Wall Street before a lot of the regulations hit. Um, so for me, I kind of I lost base of who I was as a person. And who I am as a person is I'm fun, I'm childlike, and I love animals. Like it's really, really simple. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop eating meat. That's one thing that I'm going to do to actually be a good person and stay in control because I'm really passionate about animal welfare. And number two, how am I going to get my protein in when I'm on the road? So I started to dump pea protein, actually, and I got this idea from the network marketing company Isogenics. I used to carry around their dairy-free shake mix and pour it in my coffee throughout the whole entire day. And because of that, I was actually getting my protein on the road, even though it was really disgusting looking to dump that protein in the coffee. It kind of led me down this path of doing that the next 10 years, which led to Unicreamer. But in between, there was a lot of figuring out to do. And so right after Wall Street, that's when and actually it was during Wall Street, my cousin started doing the network marketing company Isogenics. And I know a lot of your listeners are in this network marketing company. And I actually think it was awesome. It was a really awesome experience because it took me out of this place of feeling stuck and like, oh my God, there's another world out there where I can do something different and make money and not be clung to my desk and have these old men yell at me the whole day. Like, this is crazy. So I started doing it on the side. And to be honest, I really wasn't good at the business. I had too big of an ego at the time and probably still now, but I just wasn't that great.
Love your honesty.
Thank you. But I did learn a lot. I actually learned a lot about team building. I met a lot of people that I was really inspired by there that I continue to talk to because they were able to build out these teams and go on to do more authentic things that aligned with that, like you're doing essentially.
Yeah.
And it taught me that there are other ways to live your life than just the corporate world and Wall Street.
Yeah. It's interesting just to intervene for a second. They talk about, money doesn't buy happiness. And what was your moment in that whole place and space where you're making all this money at such a young age? When did you kind of realize that money wasn't everything?
I think for me, it was when I would be sitting at my desk. There were a couple circumstances. One is I would be sitting at my desk for 10 hours a day. I wouldn't be able to leave my desk because I had to watch the markets. Because if I missed one movement, my traders might not be able to trade. And I was like, this can't be what life is really about. Like, is this adulting? So adulting, that kind of thing, that killed my insides. Like I knew I was destined for so much more than sitting at a desk for 10 hours a day. Number two, the environment that I was working in, I was so miserable. I was with a lot of toxic people. I was sexually harassed a lot. And it was one of those things where it was before like the Me Too movement and everything. And I couldn't say anything. I was too scared because a lot of these men were making millions of dollars for the company. And if I were to speak out, I was literally scared for my life. So just being in a toxic environment and then also thinking that like I had to be at a desk all day and that's how I had to live life because that's what being adult was about. Those two things kind of made me think that the money wasn't really worth it.
And to bring network marketing into it, they say that it's a personal development journey with a compensation plan attached to it. And sometimes that compensation is not money. It's the belief and the experience that you get, just like you said, looking at life through a different lens that you had been looking at. And I think that's pretty fair to say that was, I mean, would you say that that's one of the biggest takeaways that you had from your network marketing experience? It wasn't about the money, it was about the experience of what you were learning, correct?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I never heard of network marketing before this. It just looked so cool to see my cousin like helping people and making money and still being at home. I was
Mm.
like, this is such an interesting, cool concept. And so, yeah, I 100% agree. For me, it wasn't monetary reward. It was all about the experience.
So, obviously, so now you're making this transition. You're putting dairy-free protein in your coffee. I use the same dairy-free protein every day. I love it. And you get this idea for Unicreamer with your sister. So conceptually, how did that come about? And when did you make that decision? Because it's something that I always talk about on my podcast is that you have to decide that you're going to do something. It wasn't going to be just a hobby. You were going to make this a business. So when did you and your sister really decide that we're going to go full fledged? And how did you come up with the name Unicreamer?
Yeah. Okay. So this is where I really want people to understand like the story. So when I quit Wall Street, there was like a good 3 to 4 year period where I moved in with my boyfriend. And the first 9 months, I did nothing. Like I became a little complacent because I was like, this is freedom. And, I didn't have a plan when I quit my job. I had a good bonus, which they tried to sue me for. That's a whole nother story. But I had a good bonus to live on. And I was just like, okay. And then after 9 months of being just completely complacent, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do. And I think that's the one thing that people who are inspired to quit don't think about. So for me, I was like, I need to do something. And I don't know what it is, but I need to do something. So I started real estate. I ended up being on $1 million listing. I'm like, if I'm going to do real estate, I'm going to try out for the top real estate team. Hated it, cried every day. I did that for 3 months, quit that. Then I was like, okay, let me try personal training. I obviously, like, I've always been pretty fit. I played a lot of sports. Maybe I can help people with personal training. Wasn't making any money. And to be honest, I really wasn't good at serving people in that way. I'm kind of too much of a diva personality to do that, to be totally honest.
I
I will
love your
fully admit.
honesty. This is great.
Yeah, I hope people don't
No,
judge me for that.
I just really love how you just own yourself. Like you're just owning who you are. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that didn't work out. Yeah, even like stretching people, like I give major props to people that are just so good at engaging when they're like doing hair. And like for me, I was like, you should be stretching me.
Yeah, that's what
So anyway.
trust me, I did that for 18 years, like doing all that. So I totally get it.
Okay. So that didn't work out. And then I'm like, okay, there's one thing that I'm really good at, and there's one thing that I really love. I love animals and I'm really good at talking. I won't shut the fuck up. So, oh, sorry for cussing.
It's okay.
So, anyways, I was like, let me start a podcast. And this is when podcasts just started happening. So, eventually, what happened was sorry about the dogs. I started to do a podcast called Hound Vibes, and I started interviewing $1 million entrepreneurs in the pet industry. And from doing this podcast, just from doing something, I made all of these connections. One of these connections actually happened to run a consumer packaged good companies for a company that I can't name. They were sold, but they were a huge baby product company, and they wanted to start a pet side, and they needed someone to run it, literally do everything. And I was like, I'll take the position. It sounded just like the right thing to do. And that was a really important lesson to me, because I think because I was so lost and couldn't figure it out, just doing this podcast, I was like, I just need to do something that I love to do and that I'm good at. And it eventually led to this position. This position led me to learn how to do distribution, how to do pricing models, how to do sales from every single level. And I didn't even know what I was truly prepping for, but I was prepping to start Unicreamer, but I didn't know this yet. So then what happened after a year of doing this, I was at a family function, and my sister, who I've called for 15 years with the dumbest ideas on the planet, who would always hang up on me. Finally, we were at this family event. She's like, what are you doing? And as I'm dumping my isogenics protein into my coffee. And she was like, this is so disgusting. Like, is this another one of your contraptions? And I'm like, at least I've been doing this for 10 years. It's like the one thing that actually keeps me sane and healthy. And so she actually tasted it, and it didn't taste that bad. And she's like, okay, this is our business. And I'm like, what? And so it was really weird, because for 15 years, I've been the one calling her with ideas, but she saw what I was doing and was like, this needs to be a thing for everyone. So that's when we came up with the concept. And at the time, it was called Coffee Sprinkles. And it was just going to be a high protein sprinkly mix that you can put in your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we obviously did a little research. I had connections to manufacturers, because I was running this, not running, but I was head of sales and marketing for this other company, but essentially doing everything, because it was just two of us. And then from there, we just started the ball rolling, and we came up with the name Unicreamer because I walked through Whole Foods and everything else was so boring. And I was like, let's do some creative packaging. And the Unicreamer symbol actually stands for compassion for us. Since we eventually do want to open up our own sanctuary, that was our reason for doing all of this in the first place. So that's how everything kind of came to be.
And I've had your product, and it's absolutely delicious, and people can get it online. So I highly suggest people to, if you're not in the Chicago area and you want to add some, just amazing, delicious, more than just sprinkles to your coffee, you got to order this stuff. So I love your story because it is so real, and it's and everyone probably is listening. They're like, oh my God, they must be rolling in it. Things are going so well. They have their own company, and I've owned my own business too. And there's so many amazing lessons that you learn by being in entrepreneurship. So everything that you've done outside of Wall Street and the companies that you've worked for, doing network marketing, having Unicreamer now, what would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned from your experience?
The number one lesson I think I've learned, and I'm going to quote Peta Kelly on this. I know you guys all know who she is.
Yeah.
Fail forward. I mean, that's literally, you just got to do it and mess up. Like, that's the only way to get ahead. You just have to keep doing and figure it out.
One of the things that I live by is that, I always say that your failures will always open the doors to your successes. So with that being said, what do you think has been your personal greatest success to date so far?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say starting this company has been my greatest success, because it's something that I've always dreamed of doing, is starting a company. And I think the fact that I got it off the ground, that it's selling really well, for me, that's actually been my greatest success to date,
And,
business-wise.
I was part of a family-owned business that did not go well. What is it like working with your sister now?
It's like having superhuman strength, basically.
Right.
I moved out of the Upper West Side in New York with a guy that I thought I was going to marry, moved into my sister's bedroom in Chicago to start this together. and we're the same size, the same height. We talk the same and we look exactly alike. So, we fight quite a bit, but at the same time, I think it's a benefit because when you're running a business, you have to be really, really honest with each other. And if we don't like what the other person is doing, we will say it. We might fight about it, but then it's resolved within an hour. Whereas if it's just a regular business partner, sometimes you're a little scared, you don't want to hurt their feelings, and then people become resentful. So I'm grateful to be working with my sister because we do get a lot done because of that.
So what is your personal superpower?
Resourcefulness. 100%. I may not be the smartest person or the most well-versed or organized person, but I will figure anything out.
I love that. When people ask me that question, I always say resilient, because along the same lines, I will always find a way. There's something that me and my fiance always live by, is that everything in life is figure outable. There is a solution for any problem. And I love that. You always got to keep failing forward. And, everyone thinks that success is this thing that happens every single time. No, I mean, you're going to fail way more than you're actually going to succeed. But it's from those failures that you end up learning how to succeed, which I think is one of the most important lessons that one person can learn in life. So for the listeners, I have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of online business coaches, network marketers. What is one piece of advice that you can leave the audience today? That person that is thinking about quitting, that person that is frustrated, that person that is financially challenged right now. What is piece of advice you can give them to move them forward?
I would say to make 2 lists. Make one list of 5 to 10 things that you love, that you're so passionate about. And then make a list of 5 to 10 things that you're really, really good at. And really take a couple hours and look at this list and see what you can start doing tomorrow with these 2 things. Really narrow it down, because that's how I started that podcast that led to me running a CPG company that led to Unicreamer. So that's the best advice that I can give someone right now.
I love that. That reminds me of actually something from The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale's big thing was, he said, ideas are free. And his advice to people was, every day, write down 3 ideas.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, you have 1,000 ideas. And his whole thing was, eventually one of those ideas is going to turn into an income producing business.
Totally. And I already had the problem of having too many ideas. So to narrow it down even further, pair those ideas with your strengths. So basically you have no excuse. You already have this idea, and then you're using something you're already good at to get there.
I love it. So before we end today's episode, how can people connect with you on social media, and where can they learn more about you and your business, Unicreamer?
Yeah. So you can go to www.unicreamer.com. And actually, I'll give everyone a Scott20 code. So it's 20% off for his listeners. And then you can find us at Unicreamer on Instagram. And then you can always find my personal Instagram. I'm always giving out business advice. I kind of have a small agency on the side just because I've had to figure out everything. If you have any business related questions, just slide in my DMs and I'd be happy to help.
So here's my thing. There's something, I don't know why every time I hear that, it's like, I don't know. It's like one of the, like people say, what's a word that kind of like just is, just not a gross word, but it's like whatever, like people think, I forget, like moist. People really have an issue with the word moist.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Right? But like when someone says slide into my DMs, like it's just I just get a visual of, like, I don't know. It's a weird like inbox me, but just slide on into my DMs.
Yeah, it's really it's like a sleazy way of saying.
Yeah,
it's totally slide.
it sounds dirty, but it's not. But it's just when you're sliding into someone's DM, like it just sounds dirty to me. Anyway, that's
I don't want, listen, when I say slide, guys, I don't want you sliding in. Like, I want you to just genuinely have a great question. So no one gets the wrong idea.
Awesome. So again, I will leave all this in the show notes. And just remember, guys, Scott20 is the coupon code when you go to unicreamer.com to order your delicious products from her. And again, please connect with her on social media. And Lori, thank you again so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you again so much for checking out this week's episode. And if you can, head over to iTunes, search for Network Marketing Made Simple, leave me a 5-star rating, basic review. I would be grateful for all of the support you guys can give me. And again, if you'd be interested in learning more how to utilize LinkedIn to grow your business, your brand, and your bank account, head over to my website, www.scottaaron.net. Fill out the form for your free 15-minute discovery call so I can learn more about you, your business, and how we can work together. And again, thank you guys so much. Grateful for you all, and I'll see you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.